Hi, everyone, and welcome to a very special edition of AFSA's Zoom presentations. Today, I'm joined by Simone from Bush Magic Adventures from Wollongong, and we're so grateful for her time today because she's going to talk about all things NDIS. Now, I know this is a topic that a lot of you have touched upon, asked questions about, and we're really lucky because Simone has an incredible background in social work and also in her work of Bush Magic Adventures in supporting families and her community in navigating NDIS. So, Simone, I'm really excited to hear from you today. You have lots of points to share with us. If we forget something, everyone, we will add it at the end. And Simone has also graciously said that she's more than happy for you to in the future ask her question should you need to know something, but just be mindful that obviously she's speaking relevant to where she's living in Wollongong in New South Wales. So obviously her experiences may be a little bit different to what may happen in your state, but certainly we're really grateful for Simone to share. So Simone, thank you so much.
Hi. No problem. I also want to say, I'm on my own learning journey when it comes to NDIS. So if anyone has any different information or anything to add to what I say today, I'm really, really happy to hear that. I'm always happy to learn more. But from what I'm saying today is from my understanding of where I sit or where my organisation sits in terms of claiming NDIS funding and helping kids on the NDIS funding as well. Yeah.
Great. All right, so where would you like to start, Simone?
I guess it might be helpful to start with my background. Like you said, I've had a lot of experience before we started Bush Magic, which was just over 2 years ago. I was a school counsellor for 14 years. And for the probably 10, 15 years before that, I was working in different community roles in family work, social work, community work, all different kinds of things. So I guess, I feel like all those experiences have come together for me to do this role, and to the NDIS stuff kind of just comes naturally from that, because that's where my passion is, where I love to help kids to develop skills and strategies to kind of navigate their life from. So yeah, that's my background. I'm a registered counsellor. I studied psychology, human movement, and I'm also a teacher. But my main passion is counselling. So also starting Bush Magic was an idea that came from a long time before that, when my oldest child was 4. He's now nearly 18. So it took a while, but finally we got there. And also my business partner is an outdoor educator. So I feel like our particular skills and qualifications all come together to create something really unique in Bush Magic. And so I know that's probably different to a lot of other people. Everyone has their own skills. So yeah, but just take what you want from it and yeah, go from there. I think to start with, when we were looking at the NDIS funding and whether we could access it, I was looking and doing some research, and it sounded to me like you needed to be an NDIS provider, which was a big process to go through to get registered as an organisation, so that you could claim NDIS funding. But then I have since found out that you don't necessarily need to do that. It was like a $3,000 a year commitment to keeping your accreditation up to date. And it was really overwhelming and huge. So I just went, oh, I can't do that. So if we have to do that, we're not doing it. But you don't actually need that. So I would kind of be annoyed if I was an NDIS provider. If, I guess there must be reasons for some organizations to do that, but we don't need to do that as a forest school or as Bush Magic. So we can just claim, because of my counselling background and my qualifications, we're able to claim NDIS funding for certain kids who are funded for certain things. So I'll go a little bit more in depth into that later on. I might talk a little bit about who our kids are that can claim NDIS to start with, if that's okay.
Right. Yes.
So overwhelmingly, most of the kids who claim NDIS funding who we see have diagnosis of ASD level 2 and ADHD, and they're usually together. You don't attract funding if you just have ADHD, and if you have ASD level 1, you don't attract funding either. So often kids are either ASD level 2, they can sometimes be ASD level 3. We've had some kids with cerebral palsy, some kids with complex trauma. Just trying to think, there's quite a few different other diagnoses that we've had in our programs, but most of the kids are ASD level 2 and they need help with social skill support. And social capacity building is the funding bucket that the money usually comes from in NDIS funding. So that's what we've kind of learned over the time that we've been doing this, that like they either have to be registered for social capacity building, which makes it really simple because we can easily bill them with certain item numbers for that. If they're not registered for that funding, there's another avenue, because I'm a therapist, that I have to take them on as a therapy client, which I really don't want to have to do, because that means I have to be the one working with them, or I have to employ a therapy assistant to work one-on-one with them. Whereas I really prefer them to be in the group situation and just be learning the things they need to learn from there, which is absolutely effective in itself. So, so I'm just looking at my notes here because I'm thinking.
Yeah. So when you say, so you're saying you prefer that they're just part of a group, that they don't need one-on-one support? Is that what you're saying? Most of your
I mean,
community?
we prefer to meet the kids where they're at. So if they need one-on-one support to be part of the group,
you
we
will
definitely
fund
have that
that
option as well if they're funded for that. So often they need core funding, which is a different funding bucket than just the regular funding, which I can't remember the name of right now. So core support funding seems to be for kids who have higher needs and more maybe really long-term high needs as well. So we do have a few kids who we provide one-on-one support. We provide a one-on-one support worker to help them be engaged in the program. But most of the kids that we see are just involved in the program as a regular child, but we just provide
it's part of the group.
We provide extra support. So as a counsellor, it's my job. I don't always work on the program anymore, so we're mainly now doing more business management stuff, so we're not as on the ground as much as we used to be. So now one of my main jobs is briefing staff and planning with staff about how to meet the needs of kids, having really in-depth conversations with parents in order to plan how the program is going to meet the needs of the child. And then
is that something that's a written process as well?
Yeah,
or
it
just
is
a verbal.
But it's there's more verbal, I guess, than written. But I do write down the main points, just because that's my job as a therapist is to keep notes as well.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, but most of it's verbal, like with the staff. But there's like a basic plan written out, but there'll be nuances in that plan. I can't necessarily write every detail down, but
that's true.
Staff will learn because they're always on the program with the same kids. So
of course.
And then after that happens, my job as well is debriefing with staff and making sure that the day went well, making sure that the parents have all the information they need,
of course.
And all the other communication that goes along with that.
Do you feel your position is quite unique because of your background? I don't know in a lot of other services that have that component to their programs.
Yeah, and I think that's what I was saying before. I think that we are, but I don't think that counts out other people from doing this process. I think if you have staff employed in your organization, you could employ a counsellor or you could employ a therapist of some kind in order to do this stuff. So
of course.
Or it might inspire other forest school people to go and maybe do a counselling qualification or something.
Of course.
In order to do that. So
Yeah, fantastic. Sorry, yes, keep going. I just think that that's quite unique what you're doing. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think it is, and I think that's
one of the
things, that like our business has been really successful because I guess we see a need and we kind of we don't have like really structured plans. We're not those kinds of people, so we just go for it. And NDIS for me is a natural progression from being a counsellor to running a bush school.
Of course.
But I need to make sure that the kids who are in my bush school are like making progress and building strategies, building skills so that they can live their life
absolutely.
Really well. It's actually really amazingly effective, like way more effective than counselling in a room with four walls. So and
just remind me of your age ranges, Simone, because you're talking about older children here.
Mainly work with primary school. But we do have some preschool programs. So we do have some NDIS kids who are in our Bush Play program, which is a 3 to 6 year old program. But but mainly primary school. And we do have some teenagers who will come to the primary school program
Right.
because like we don't really run teenage programs. We can't really get a group of teenagers together like
No.
to do that
Yeah,
kind of thing. It's really difficult to do, but
it is. Yeah.
kids will come just for what they need. Like we might have a teenager come for a term. There might be two or
Yeah.
three teenagers, but it's often hard to keep them in the program because there's not that many. So they're often the
Yeah.
oldest, and they get what they need from it, and then they move on to
Yes.
other things. So
Yeah, of course. Of course.
yeah.
All right. Sorry. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's good to know about your age ranges. And I think a lot of other people, I would definitely agree with you that not really based from anything from 12 years and above. Would you agree? Not many.
Yeah, I mean, there definitely isn't in my area.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to get the groups of kids, older kids together. So they all have
Yeah.
their different interests. And even the homeschool
Yeah, of
community,
course.
all the kids are out doing their own thing. So
Yeah, of course.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Sorry. Yes, I did disrupt you. Keep going.
That's okay. Yeah, so I guess a lot of the kids we see might have school trauma. So they've,
Mm,
they might be on the spectrum and they've been going to school and like it's been really
yeah.
difficult for them. The teachers haven't really known how to respond to their needs.
Mm,
The schools may be advising parents to do things that the parents aren't comfortable with. So pushing kids to go to school when they're
yeah.
clearly really
Shouldn't be there.
stressed about it, I guess. And yeah, and
Yeah.
I mean, as a school counselor, I've been in that role before, so I understand from the other side
Mm,
as well how difficult that is for a school, and for
yeah, of
teachers who don't
course.
necessarily have the training to, or they don't understand the behaviours and they think the child's just being naughty and they're labelled as a naughty kid. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, like I kind of have compassion for the school as well, but like in the end, when the child's
Yeah.
really distressed and
Yeah.
like voicing that they don't want to go to school and maybe they've become suicidal or maybe like
Yeah.
they're just refusing to leave home, that's really upsetting and damaging for kids and
It
families.
is
So
definitely.
yeah,
Yeah.
those are the kids that I really want to get into our program, and it seems to be
Of
really
course.
successful.
Yeah.
So those kids, yeah, they often come to us, kind of, sometimes they're reluctant. They're like, no, I don't want to leave home. And they're a bit burnt out. So they're just kind of trying to get their nervous system back on track and,
Yeah.
calm down a little bit from their experience of school. But once they do come, we often find even within relatively short periods of time that like things improve for them.
Yeah.
And even after the first day, sometimes they're excited about life again and they want to
Mm,
come back and they've got a place that they feel they belong.
yeah.
um, yeah, and parents notice they're happier, and so parents are
Yeah.
really keen for them to come back as well.
It must
And
be
so
pretty special having that, Simone, seeing that,
yeah, it's
observing
amazing.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, and I'm
absolutely.
not quite sure how other forest schools, you know,
Mm,
deal with this stuff, but like I assume that it would be the same for most forest schools because
yeah.
getting kids out in nature in a self-directed
Yes.
way, I think the self-direction is the
Mm,
I guess it depends on how you run your forest school, but we are very
yeah.
child-led. So if a
Yes.
child wants to sit down and read a book under a tree, that's fine. Or if they want to
Yep.
go and explore the bush, as long as they're safe, we're okay with that. And we
Yeah.
bring all the other structured activities that
Yeah, of
they might
course.
want to be involved in. So the fact that they have a choice is
Yes.
really amazing for those kids. We often have kids on who have a PDA profile. So I'm not quite sure if you're familiar with that, but pathological demand avoidance. So
Yes.
it's kind of like I guess when I first heard about PDA,
Mm.
it's like ODD, like oppositional defiance disorder, but
It's
it's not
disorder.
based in
Yeah.
anger, it's based in anxiety. So the
Yes.
kids are so anxious about like, maybe doing the wrong thing or not understanding what's needed from them that they just can't cope with any direction. So if you say, hey, can you go and stand over near the fire? That's possibly the wrong way to deal with those kids. It might be, hey, how do you feel about coming over here with me and standing by the fire and we can have a
Yeah.
chat about this or
Just
whatever. And
reframing how you're
yeah, it's
saying
about
it.
like communication and making sure that they feel they have a
Yeah.
choice.
Yeah, of
Um,
course.
which, I guess in schools sometimes teachers see as pandering to kids
Mm,
who are just being naughty. But when you look at it psychologically, it really makes sense in terms of anxiety and what they've been
yeah.
through. So we
Yeah.
can work really well with those kids.
And we
Most
know too, don't we, that the way we speak to children or we speak to anyone makes a massive difference. The way we reframe, risky, adventurous play, all the things we say to everyone, the way we speak is absolutely essential. It's really important. And you're right, reframing how you say things for those PDA children is really important.
yeah. Yeah, and even just for any, like, I guess one of
For
our
anyone.
philosophies in our whole organization is based on respect and being strengths
Yes,
based, and making sure that
absolutely.
you don't see people as having deficits. You see them as having a
No.
role, you see them as having a value to the group. So
Mm, yeah.
once those kids feel that, I think they start feeling like maybe they can let their anxiety
Mm,
guard down, you know, like they don't
yeah.
have to be so anxious about being involved because they know that whatever they contribute will be um, appreciated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's beautiful. Yeah. It's lovely to hear.
Yeah. Just trying to think of what else.
I think some of the things you were mentioning too was you mentioned your staff and you taking on the role of leading others. Is there any specific training within your organization that you do for those who need to engage with NDIS participants within your
I
role?
Yeah, my role is to actually train every staff member up individually
Yes.
on what each child needs. But
Yeah.
most of our staff have some experience, like prior experience with
Right.
kids in the autism spectrum or
Okay.
with special needs kids. So we have a lot of teachers that we employ, like qualified teachers who
Right.
are not
Okay.
really enjoying working in the system anymore
Yeah.
and they want to get out of the
Yes.
system. Um,
Yes.
and
Sounds familiar.
Yeah. So so they are obviously a little bit experienced.
Mm,
Like most of them have some
yeah.
experience working with kids on the spectrum.
Right.
Some understanding of like, you know, the nature of childhood and kids and all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. So I feel like it's just about me going in there and saying, hey, this kid has these special needs. This is how
Right.
they, you know, mum has said that they are responded to best. This is what I think in terms of my qualifications and experience. And then
Mm,
I just keep the conversation open with the staff member
okay. Okay.
and kind of get their feedback each time the child comes. Like, how did you go with that child?
Mm,
Was there any, you know, issues? Were there anything? Was there
right.
anything that you struggled with? Was there any
Okay.
times where you think they struggled? And then we just problem solve from there. So it's a really
Okay.
individualized case by case
Yeah,
uh,
nice. Yeah.
kind of thing. Yeah.
As a reflection after each session.
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
then I guess
Okay.
after time, over time, it's no
Yeah.
longer necessary to reflect after every session, but then
Yeah,
it might
right.
I just keep the conversation open with the staff member and say, look, if
Okay.
anything comes up, you need to talk to me about it.
Okay.
And that often happens. And when we go back to the parents or we go back to the
Yeah.
therapist or the NDIS provider,
Okay.
like whoever else is involved in the child's life and talk to them about
Yes.
ideas and strategies and things like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Great.
Yeah. Um, we often have kids who are homeschooling or who are thinking of homeschooling. And so often that's where some of the NDIS kids come from. They might be
Mm,
struggling at school and parents are already thinking, maybe I need to homeschool, maybe I need to do something different. Um, or they're already homeschooling because they didn't fit in at school. So
yeah.
um, I guess that's where we first got into this
Yeah.
area because we were working, our program was designed to start with for kids who were homeschooling. But then we had a lot of kids from mainstream school come, like their parents were saying, well, why can't you see my child? Why can't they come to your program?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's one of the groups we work with as well.
Okay. Yeah, some of the things you were saying when you're talking about these groups are some of the benefits of cross-age and mixed ability groups. So
Yes. So
yes,
yeah,
so some of your groups are so you've got a 3 to 6 group and a
yeah.
6 to what age
Or 5
is
to 12, 13, 14, depending on
okay.
what the upper age is at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, there's definite benefits of having those mixed age groups. And I just even remembering back to when I was at school, which was quite a while ago, I know, but
Yeah.
like I mean now it seems like kids have separate playgrounds for separate ages and they can't even
Yeah.
play with
Crazy.
people, like even if it's their siblings that are a couple of years older.
Mm,
So I think that's a really important benefit of having we have our 3 to 6 year program running alongside our primary school age program. So
right.
and our play groups are running at the same time as well.
Yeah.
Um, so it's really amazing to see some of the older kids might go over to the play group and help, you know, like nurture some
Mm.
of the little kids and like play with them and teach them how to do
Wow.
things.
That's
Um,
quite unique to have them all at the one time. Is
yeah,
it
we have
at the
a
same
really
site?
amazing, we have 2 sites that we work at the
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah.
We have a really amazing, huge site in Mount Kira.
Yeah.
We can do all this stuff separated, but then if the kids want to go from place to place, they can.
Wow.
And we have another site that's smaller down at Dapto or Avondale.
Yeah.
So the kids there kind of just like they just naturally play together because the site's quite small, and they
Yeah.
all want to be in the same spots doing the same thing. So we often have older
Yeah.
kids teaching younger kids how to do
Mm,
things, or
yeah.
helping them to like negotiate social things or whatever. But
Yeah.
also sometimes we have younger kids teaching older kids, which is really amazing for the self-esteem and the leadership of the younger child, and also like shows,
Yeah.
because it shows good character of the older kids as well. If they're willing to
Yeah, of
accept a younger kid
course.
teaching them something, it's like, oh yeah, you're pretty amazing when it comes to, like, you don't have to
Yeah.
know everything. Some kids are just
Yeah,
like
of
to be
course.
the leader. But a lot of the kids on the ASD spectrum, they end up like from coming from a school environment where they're not very successful or they don't experience
Yeah.
that success, coming into our programs and being absolute leaders. Like they're out there in the bush, they
Mm,
do things their way and they have their own way of thinking about things, which
yeah.
really, it really helps in terms of being in the bush, and they're allowed to use their creativity and their
It's
ways.
empowering for them.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But it's amazing.
absolutely.
So those kids, we really encourage to use their
Mm,
skills and to use their
yeah, of course.
passions and their leadership. And
Yeah.
often, we've had a few kids in the past come along, and I'm just thinking of one in particular who um, he was really obsessed with dinosaurs, and he did
Yeah.
all amazing little dinosaur pranks where he would make a dinosaur footprint in the earth, and then he'd come and call everyone over and say, oh my goodness, look, there's been a dinosaur here. And he made like, he set up
Uh,
an amazing dinosaur habitat and said, look, there's a dinosaur nest and there's all the
yeah.
eggs. He set his whole
Yeah.
thing up just to prank his friends. It
Yeah.
was
Love it.
amazing. Yeah, and it showed what he knew about dinosaurs, and
Yeah, of
he
course.
was creative, and
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, really
And he could
amazing.
do his thing,
Yeah,
couldn't he? Yeah.
that's what he
So
needed to do
when
at the time.
Yeah, when you say all the programs are running together, what's the typical arrangement of staff? So, how many staff would you have in each of those programs that are running simultaneously?
So in our primary school programs, we have a 1:8 ratio, so
Right.
one teacher to 8 kids.
Yeah.
But when there's NDIS kids involved, we often have a higher staff ratio.
Okay. Yes.
That's because like we can charge more because they're NDIS kids, and so if that's something they need, we make sure we have more staff there to support them.
Yeah, of
I want to set
course.
all kids up for success. So I always say to the parents when I'm planning with them, I'd rather put more supports in to start with to see how they
Yeah.
go, and I don't want to set any kid up to fail. Like I don't want to have less staff, and I don't want to stress my staff out either.
No,
Um,
true.
by having a really stressful day where kids were like running off or whatever, and they had to deal with
Mm,
that stuff. If there's any risk of a child running off, they need to have a one-on-one support person.
yeah,
Um,
of course.
and then in our 3 to 6 year old programs, we have a 5-to-1 ratio generally, and then a slightly higher ratio if there's NDIS kids in that as
Yeah.
well.
Do
Yeah.
you only have drop-off programs? You don't have any
Well, we have a play
community?
group. The play
Yes.
group is where the parents come and play with the
Yeah.
kids.
Yeah.
So we have that 3 days a week. Um,
Yes.
so yeah, we have somewhere the parents come, and then we also
Mm,
run things like camps occasionally, but they're like more
yeah.
one kind of things. They're not
Yeah, of
regular.
course.
Maybe once or twice a year.
Yeah.
Or other community days when we might invite the parents to come, and then the kids will teach the parents what they've been doing.